how high-tech, highfalutin, lazy, or foo-foo America gets, we will never stop hunting and fishing. This is the Hunting Quest. Hunting Quest. We take 1 hour of every week and talk about our favorite things in the world, hunting and fishing. You'll get tips and help on the fishing environment locally in the DMV area. Plus, we're going to have fun along the way. This is the Hunting Quest. And now your host, Mike Tippin and Bennett Malin.
If you say it again.
All right. Take two.
All right. So can people hear us?
I don't know, dude. I have no idea. If you want to start an intro-ish, I guess, I'm going to check Facebook while you guys talk and see if the audio is coming through.
Okay. So we talked about this. All right. So
take two.
Yeah. So we can get here. We can hear. I got that. Somebody just texted me, says, yep, we can hear.
Hey, nice, dude.
There it is.
Let's hope that you can be heard. And we'll know. She said, you're a little quiet, but I can hear you. Benny, why are you making me quiet?
That's on your guys' end. I've got the USB almost all the way up.
All right, there we go. We'll kick it up a notch. Anyway.
Put into high gear, son.
We are there. All right, so now we are back here with Tyler from Skyhound. Sorry about this, Tyler.
No,
technical
good,
difficulties.
I get it.
On site
Yeah.
has left us to a little bit of stuff. So we were talking about what you do. Tell us a little bit about Skyhound.
Well, so I think I was saying first, thank you guys for coming to be on location. I appreciate it. I know
Anytime.
it's a pain in the butt to get all this crap out here and get it all set up, but it's exciting to
it's a cool
be able to
place.
use my company headquarters as a podcast.
It is cool.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, so Skyhound is a full service drone provider. We're located in beautiful downtown historic district Leesburg. And we operate all things drones. One of our focuses is obviously the hunting industry, specifically deer recovery. But we have, since the last time we talked, added on a couple of other verticals that we're focused on. One of them being, which I've been really excited about, has been the agricultural side of drones.
Yep.
Which has been really cool, not just because the drones are 10-foot wingspan and can lift 125 pounds and the craziness of flying one of those things, but there's just a ton of opportunity on that side of the business. So
right.
We're almost through our first season of spraying. We've been focused heavily on the vineyards in Loudoun County.
Sure.
Some of the other row crop farmers in the area. So that has been incredible to kind of see that blossom into a real, revenue stream for the business.
Absolutely, man.
But now
hard work pays off.
Yes, it does. Now, as we are edging closer to beautiful September, the brain's starting to move to the deer recovery side of things.
I like that. I like that a lot.
So that's our offering. Obviously, we talked about that on the last show.
Right.
We were moving into our first season of doing deer recovery. But yeah, I know we'll go into a ton of.
Oh yeah, no. This is good. This is good.
Yeah, man. Deer recovery is one of our service offerings, operating in entire state of Virginia and Maryland. Can't operate in West Virginia. We realized that last season that it is not legal in West Virginia, so they have been removed.
From what is that?
Yeah, it's really just obviously every state is different, and West Virginia looks at it as similarly to Pennsylvania as assisting in the hunt, which I call BS.
I call that a BS for sure.
But that's the way that we look at it. I've talked to a number of West Virginia DNR folks.
Well, all right. So I got to ask, if you've
ahead.
talked to the West Virginia DNR folks, what is their now? Obviously, they have their the public take on this. What's their public versus private take?
Their private take is they call BS on it.
Okay, cool.
I think if you talk to anybody that understands the industry or understands hunting,
sure,
right, just has either done it or has been around it long enough, you can realize pretty quickly what we're doing with the drone. It's not assisting in the hunt.
Right.
If anything, it is helping less deer go to waste.
Absolutely.
And most of these guys are game wardens, or women are game wardens. and are hunters.
Right.
So they understand that, we're not out there trying to call a hunter into a deer with a drone, right?
Right.
We are there to help a hunter who has either pulled the trigger or released the arrow.
Right.
And to the best of their ability, that deer is down and dead, and
or
they've been unsuccessful in the recovery.
Right.
That's why we're there.
And so I think I understood this well enough, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this a little bit last year, but I know they were looking to solidify some of the rules behind this. But isn't it, at least here in Virginia, once a drone goes up, you're done hunting?
So you are done hunting for that day.
Right. Yeah.
So like if we go out there to look for your buck on Saturday morning, right? Like we get there at 7 a.m. And we can't find your deer, you cannot hunt that evening on your property.
Right.
Vice versa, if we go out there at 10 o'clock at night on a Friday night, you can hunt Saturday
morning.
Right.
Right.
So it's just within that
day,
or that day that you're not able to hunt the property.
And most everywhere else is the same way.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're putting, I mean, do you think maybe the idea behind it is that you're putting this deer, you're putting it up to find a wounded deer?
Yeah, I think that's where you start to etch into the gray area a little bit.
I get that.
All right, we take the drone up, the deer is wounded. Now the hunter knows where that deer is. Are they going to go in and take that deer out? But like at the end of the day,
you have enough capability to understand if that deer is severely injured and will succumb to its own wound, or if that deer is probably going to be able to walk away then.
Right. Not to mention, like, it's not as easy as just like, okay, now you know where the deer is, let's go kill it. Like, if that deer is still head up, alert,
right?
It's
over.
It's over.
Yeah.
Right? So
that deer's moving.
That's where the biggest kind of argument of using this technology is, well, you're just helping a hunter kill a deer that would not have died otherwise. But I still think on the flip side of that is, how do you know?
Right. Exactly.
That's a liver shot deer, and we were able to identify that. And now the hunter isn't going to go in for another 12 hours, and he's going to find a dead deer, as opposed to giving it 3 hours because he thought it was a double lung shot.
Right.
And he bumps that deer, and that deer's wasted.
Yep.
I think at the end of the day, as a hunter, you should have every tool available to you to locate the deer that you've pulled the trigger.
1000% agree.
Right? Like, I think everyone can agree on that.
Yeah.
And so the drone is another tool for that. And I think it's up to the states to mandate that the drone operators that are doing businesses like this are trained in it, are certified. They are not just a Joe Schmo who's gone out and purchased a drone.
Right.
And is going out to help their buddy, kill a trophy buck.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and that's a big one, I think. I think that's, I mean, let's say that were you. Let's say you go out and you do something like that. You lose your business.
Yeah.
That's your livelihood.
100%.
Joe Schmo doesn't really care. I lose my drone, whatever. But
and we're very clear, like on the back of our flyers on the website, it's our terms of service. And it clearly states if we find that animal wounded, the drone is landed, the recovery mission is over.
Right.
And we leave the site.
Sure.
Right? So, like we've taken every precaution to make sure that we are operating in the law. And we are, and we feel very comfortable with it. And again, I feel so strongly about this because I watched over last season how many deer were recovered that would have not gone unrecovered.
Sure.
And then also how many minds we put at ease.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool to see.
Oh, yeah.
And I would have liked to say that, of the 50 or 60 missions that we did last season, we found 50 or 60 deer.
Right.
But 90% of our calls were people calling us out as a last ditch effort to ease their mind.
Absolutely.
Right? To like, oh God, what if it's just in some creek bottom that I overlooked?
Right.
What if it's in the next briar patch? Right. And, they were calling us 24 hours, 48 hours after the shot.
Oh,
They
yeah.
had already bumped the deer twice.
Yep.
Right. And, as a hunter, I could appreciate getting out there and watching kind of the relief go through a fellow hunter's body of like, all right, I've literally done everything imaginable to try to locate this deer. So it gives them a little bit of like closure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Now on the flip side of that, and what I'm really trying to hammer home this season, and what I told everybody that called me last season was, if you do not find that deer, in the first 100 yards, get out of the woods.
Just stop
and call us.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Know that we're here.
Right.
We'll be to you within hours. Just call us.
Yeah.
Because I cannot tell you how many times we were called out on a deer that would have been recovered had it not been bumped.
Sure.
And it's just like, man, that, and I'm guilty of that more than anybody.
We all
the amount
are.
of times that I've, hit a liver shot
Yep.
and convinced myself that it was
I
back of the
think- I
lungs.
think I got that.
Deer's dead.
Yeah.
And you go out and you bump it. And
Yeah,
I cannot help myself. I've had the hardest time in my hunting career of, lasting for 12 hours
Sure.
before I go out and recover deer.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm always worried about heat, or I'm number one priority is saving the meat.
Oh yeah.
So I'm always like, oh no, it was a better shot than I thought it was.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're always the better
Yeah.
shot,
So now everybody has this technology
Yep.
that can, if I know that deer is bedded and I can maybe see the shot from the drone, then that puts my mind at ease to know, okay, I got to give that deer 10 hours.
Sure,
or something along
absolutely.
those lines. It's more data for the hunter.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so sorry, Benny, I talked over you, but so when we talked about this in the past, in the last year, and we're talking similar things again. I find this absolutely amazing. I find it so unique. The other part that people they don't necessarily understand, and most of these are people who don't hunt or are new to hunting, and that's that it can take 10 hours for a deer to expire, right? And why is it important not to bump deer? Well, I mean, that deer is going to get up and is going to keep on moving. And then your blood trail is going to thin out, and because there's only so much blood in this deer, and that deer is going to just die somewhere that you cannot find them. But in the same token, the other part, kind of with the big relief of this, is that you were talking about, I've watched first-time hunters take a shot and couldn't recover a deer, and that's it. They'll never get back in the woods again. And you're sitting there and you're just like, this is heartbreaking, because this is not how I wanted this to go. Right. So I think that service, what you do is imperative to the youth, to first-time hunters, to things like that. So I'm glad you do it. I'm glad it's offered. I'm glad that you're good at your job, and things like that.
Well, that was, I think, one of the most rewarding things was we had a handful of first deer, right? Like, one that comes to my mind was, we were out, it was a father and his brother, and they were out on their property, and they had searched the previous night with the son, it was his first deer.
Sure.
Couldn't find the deer, right? And so they called me out the next morning, and we recovered the buck.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
And I got to be there to see this kid, and you could see, like, it was weird to see it on a kid, because we've all felt that. Just like, it is so hard to describe that feeling of, like, your world's over.
That's it.
And it's like, nobody understands that unless you are a hunter, unless you've been in those shoes.
Oh yeah.
Knowing you mortally wounded an animal and not being able to recover.
It is the worst.
So to see that on a child's face, I'm a father, I have 2 kids, and it's just like, and then to see the relief that he got, knowing that we found that deer that would have otherwise gone unrecovered.
Absolutely.
Man, that's
too cool.
Something special.
Well, I think that brings up a really cool thing too, with that kid specifically, and I really think this is a big part of what you guys are doing and helping out, is with the ethical hunter.
Yeah.
You're getting the calls that you're getting from people are from the guys that are hunting ethically and doing the right thing, that feel that way about it, and it's really cool to, hear about that kid that, I mean, hell, I ain't that old. I remember being that little kid sitting in a deer stand and, take a pop shot at a doe at 100 yards with a 243 and scratch its belly. And man, sitting in the truck crying and throwing up or whatever, to, it's so cool. And I think it teaches people a lot of, ethics, and, not to mention you get to recover the deer. Like, that's that's the coolest damn part.
Never ending. You know what else has been really interesting about this whole process is you speak to ethics, and I've talked to a lot of hunters, and we've done a ton of, marketing and social media and conferences and events and all sorts, right? So I've talked to I feel like I've talked to the broad spectrum of different hunters out there, and it is sad how many people have, bulked at this technology or the price of it and gone, man, that's not worth it. I'd let it go. And it's like, ooh, that's I guess it's a quick way for me to get a quick, ethics test and go,
nope.
We just had a good conversation until you
said that.
And that's
right.
a real quick reading of like, I don't need to waste my time with you anymore. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And I find it I've never been in those shoes, but I would like to think if people will spend $1,000 on camouflage. They'll spend $1,000 on a gun, rifle, whatever, crossbow, whatever it is. They'll spend the money on the equipment.
Yep.
They'll spend the time, energy, and effort to get game cams and put, Millennium tree stands with the super comfortable seats and all of that stuff. And then they won't come off of that. And I'm like, you gotta be I would that would be
well. And the other thing too, if you own, especially like if you own private property, like my uncle back in Missouri, the amount of money and time that they have invested into that property. Granted, yes, the deer are still wild animals, but he's spending $10,000-$15,000 a year taking care of them, minimum. You're kind of looking after your own, it's not just a run out and shoot a wild animal for a lot of these guys, especially, like really dedicated deer hunters. There's a lot of, time and money and stuff invested into it that, you watch a buck grow up for 6-7 years and shoot it and it's just gone. I mean, it's heartburning.
And I will say that wasn't, by no means was that the majority.
Yeah, no.
Oh, yeah.
It surprised me.
It's a telltale sign
it's
for sure.
Like,
but yeah.
Wow. That is just shocking. It's like, I don't know how to.
We can't be friends.
Yeah. I'm uncomfortable.
You can't do that, obviously, but that blew me away that there were people out there. You want to think that there's a good in everybody and that, most hunters are trying to do the right thing. And I think a majority of us are.
Yeah. I think that I do think that is a distinctive minority.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. I 100% agree.
And I don't know what you charge, but I can't imagine it would be that expensive.
So this year it's $450 flat fee.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
$1 per mile. Yeah.
What?
Really,
I thought it was going to be like at least 1,000.
No. Benny, right? Like you hit the nail on the head. You're investing in camouflage and how expensive everything is.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, yeah, 99% of people are okay with
that. Would be sitting in the center console of my truck.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I'm not messing around, man.
No.
But like I said, it's a good testament to just figure out who you're talking to, what kind of a hunter you got in front of you.
Yep.
It's the same thing for like fishermen. Same deal. You got the folks that go out, and they fish ethically. They wait for their fishing partner to tie on a good, whatever lure that they're going to use, and then you together walk down to the lake, and then you throw a line in and you catch fish together. Not
Amen. Amen. It's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel in that pond, man. You had to be the first one there.
What was that?
Sounded like personal experience with that one.
A little bit. Yeah, just so you know, Benny has streets named after you. You know that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one way. They're all over the place. So,
hey, man, I'm kind of a big deal. I don't know what to tell you. A lot of people know me.
But on a serious note, I do applaud what you do. I applaud the fact that you're out doing it, and you've made it into not just a deer recovery business, but like you said, you've got the whole ag side going at and more potentially, right?
Yeah.
Dude, that's amazing. I mean, we talked to you last year, and I don't remember what you said you had invested in that thing, but it's a considerable cost,
they're
right?
Not cheap.
Yeah,
definitely not cheap. No.
And I mean, you got to make money.
Yep.
To own one of those big monsters, and there's a lot of things that go into. I mean, you got to. I think you said you had to get a license, and
Yeah.
What's the whole process to that? I mean, you're commercial, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's not like
commercial operator.
Personal guy who's going out with a little dinky little, whatever.
No, this is it. I mean, yeah, it's a business.
Right.
So there, there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, God, it's crazy to think that it's only been a year since we talked last.
It's cool, man.
I can divulge it now because at the time, right, I was doing this on the side.
Yep.
But I worked for DJI for about 6 years.
Right.
I was selling drones to state and local. I was doing business development. I was doing all sorts of different things for them. And yeah, it's crazy to think that now I'm doing Skyhound full time.
Yeah.
Full time about 6 months ago, and just how much the company has evolved and all the different things that we are currently working in the drone space with.
Endless opportunities right now, my friend.
There's so much there with drones, and I won't go too much into the industry, but just where it's going, how new everything is, the infancy. So it's really exciting to be in this space and have a company in this space.
So I'm always interested. We asked you this last time, but maybe things, obviously a year later, things change. There's always there's always upsides, and I think, there's also downsides to this. And one of them we kind of mentioned, well, you realize what kind of a hunter you got. Mm-hmm. What are some of obviously, when you start a business like you have hurdles that you have to meet. Yep. What are some of the biggest ones that you've had to kind of go through? I'm always interested to find out and if you don't want to tell us, that's cool.
How much time do we have?
Oh, we got how much you want to talk.
Small business owners all listening right now know what I'm talking about. I mean, I think the biggest hurdle is that first step, right?
Sure.
Is just
doing it.
Going from, right? I spent my whole career, I think 12, 13 years in corporate sales.
Sure.
Nice cushy paycheck and great health insurance and all the things.
All the things.
Nice 9 to 5. And it's that first step of saying, I'm gonna trust myself. I'm gonna
believe in me.
I'm gonna take that leap. Like that is, I don't think there is anything harder than that. And now I have to give my wife a ton of credit because
we all do.
She had exactly. She's got a great job, so I have health insurance with her, so that makes this process a little bit easier. But at the same time, you're still leaving all of that. You're still leaving what you know and taking a massive risk. So I think that is, the number one hurdle that I would say trips up most people is just taking that first step into the unknown and betting on yourself. And
that's it.
Then there's, to answer your other question of like, what do you have to do? Then there's the licensing of getting your Part 107.
I was going to be my next part is how hard is that? That's got to be insanely difficult.
Honestly, the Part 107, which is just your commercial license to operate a drone as a business, to charge to do drone services, it is not that difficult.
Okay.
And there are a ton of Part 107 pilots out there.
Okay.
The biggest differentiator that I'll say is there are a ton of Part 107 pilots. There are not a ton of Part 107 pilots that also are trying to turn this into a business.
Gotcha.
If that makes any sense.
Owner operators.
Right? Like you can have your Part 107 and maybe you take a couple real estate jobs here and there. There's a couple of great websites out there that basically have like pilot portals where they're like nationwide companies. If you have a Part 107, you can sign up and you'll get some jobs here and there.
Gotcha.
And those are great. But having your Part 107 and then trying to actually create a business around it that you can scale, that's going to support you and your family. You're going to pick and choose the right industries to focus on.
Yep.
That's a whole nother side of
it. And it ain't cheap living in Leesburg, Virginia.
It is not.
It isn't.
No.
Yeah. But I think it's, it's a true testament to who you are, as a small business owner. It's a struggle, as a small business owner. We deal with that on a regular basis of, who knows?
It's day by day.
It is day by day. And then eventually you get out of that phase. And then it's like, hey, I dealt with that. I got this. It's not a big deal. All right. I haven't dealt with this, but it's not that. It's similar to, you start drawing those, right? But, again, small business in Leesburg, in Loudoun County.
Yeah.
I applaud you, man, for sure. So that's that's a hell of a testament to who you are.
I appreciate that. It is it's cool to kind of go through all the processes, and like I think for me, right, like in the moment when something goes wrong, like your brain is like, oh, this is it. Like, the company's done. Like I'm out. And then, like you said, it's kind of like those, you take small little bites.
That's it.
Right. And you get through it. And like, I've had, God, in the 6 months or year that I've been doing this now, I've had so many of those moments where it's like, this is like, what am I doing?
Oh, yeah.
I'm never going to be able to recover.
Yeah.
And then you figure it out. And then you look back on it and you're like, oh, shit.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah. Do anything.
Right.
I just did that shit.
Dude, that was easy.
And so, like, I will say for anybody else that's not to, like, get all guru and all that bull crap, but like, take the next step.
Oh yeah.
Just keep going.
Oh yeah.
Because you figure it out.
Oh yeah.
And it's cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I've wanted to have my own business. I've always had the entrepreneurial bug, if you will.
Sure.
Lemonade stands and
there you go.
half pipes with my dad when I was 13.
Sure.
I just have always wanted to, and it's always been something in the back of my mind. So to now have it full time, this is my business, my job. It feels surreal. Yeah. Every day is like, whoa, this is what I'm doing. This
ain't no days off though.
No, there's not.
There's no days off.
Man, isn't that weird though? How I hear that statement a lot, where it's like, oh man, I left my 9 to 5 to work 24/7.
Oh yeah,
and it's so true.
100% true.
God, does it not feel that way? It's just it hits different. I don't know how to say it.
But it's yours.
It's mine. Yeah.
You invested in yourself, and that's the way to do it. So.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Well, I forgot to ask, and normally I start this right at the beginning, but Benny, what are you drinking, my friend?
I had to copycat off of you guys. I think we're all drinking a little bit of Buffalo Trace tonight.
We are.
Yes, we are.
We are. So here's to everybody.
Cheers.
This is always a good cast.
This is a all right group of guys.
All right, group of guys. All right, so we kind of talked about that, and again, I don't think people realize what local business does for you. Especially here in Loudoun County or Leesburg or wherever you're at. Small business is what runs you. Invest in them, and
100%.
Unless they're god awful, then you do your absolute best not to invest in them. Which I will refrain. I want to say something so bad, and
come on, say it.
Say it. You won't.
Completely off topic. But my favorite coffee shop.
Let's get into it.
In Leesburg, shut down.
Yeah.
King Street Coffee, run by Abby, and her absolutely amazing daughter Cora. You've been there.
We've been in Leesburg for 4 years, and that is one of my fondest memories, taking my kids Saturday mornings for the 4 years that we've been here. King Street was our spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're gutted, man.
Yeah. So, and nobody else really cares. And if you do, great. If you don't, great. I don't care, but I have this opportunity to say it. But so this other company came in and they started it, and there's a bunch of controversy about how it got started and what happened and all that other crap. And I can tell you that I'm not a fan, and they won't get my business. I won't even give them their name, but they're operating out of the same facility, not the same people, not the same group, and it's horrible because that's unethical small business. Yeah. So now I've said my piece. I'm happy about it. I wasn't going to, but I knew I was going to say it. I knew it as soon as this started. I was like,
I'm glad you said it.
So 4 years you've been here at Leesburg.
Yeah.
And you've got one of the cooler houses in Leesburg too. I gotta say
that. Thank you. We love it. Yeah.
I've driven by this house 100 times, but you kind of do something really cool. I mean, you got flowers growing here, and not like you got a lot of stuff growing, as I noticed, right?
Things going, yeah. So we're the pink house on Market Street. So I'm sure most people know that. We also are the crazy Halloween house. So come October, it transforms.
All right. I'll hook you up with some of my people.
Yeah, that's a little bit of my obsession, but we won't go into that.
Yeah. Oh, trust me.
We can go into that after the stream.
I know people. I know lots of people. But yeah.
But yeah, we got flowers in the backyard. We sell flowers to some of the local businesses. We have fun with it, man.
It's cool.
Incredible property. We got so fortunate to be able to get it when we did, and I've just had so much fun with it. I operate out of the back. It's a detached garage, so this has become Skyhound
far
headquarters.
detached.
Yeah, far detached.
It's got its own driveway, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
this is cool.
It's pretty cool. We love it, man. It's been unbelievable.
It's a cool place.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll get back on topic because this is about Skyhound and hunting and drone recovery and all that stuff. So, so you've got a drone there.
Yep.
All right. So that's a humongous thing, but you've got bigger ones.
We do. We have much bigger ones actually.
Yeah, I saw the one out out there
on the spray trailer. So that's the deer recovery drone. That's the M300. It's got the H20T thermal sensor on the bottom there. It has dual payload capability. So during season, we'll have a spotlight as the other payload. And that's our recovery drone. And we're investing in another drone because we're going to be bringing on another pilot for this coming season.
How many of these things do you have?
So we'll have 2 deer recovery drones for Skyhound for this coming season.
Wow.
I think, God, we're up to like, I don't know, 6 or 7 drones now.
Holy smokes.
One of the ag drones out there. But yeah, they're incredible pieces of technology. This drone's great because we use this a lot for the construction industries that we're involved with the swappable payloads. We can have, we can go from that thermal unit to, we can put an L2, which is a LiDAR unit that flies on that. So we'll use that for earth moving companies and construction firms. And then there's a few other payloads that we have for that one. We have a Mavic 3 Enterprise for a lot of our mapping missions. If we're putting together orthomosaics of construction site for progression. Shoots.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So I feel pretty confident that we have a drone for pretty much any situation. Yeah.
Good Lord. Well, can you fly in Louisiana by any chance?
Yeah. Sure we could.
Benny?
Dude, I think we need to tie. He got me with the spotlight. All right. All right. Now, I know you're not allowed to hunt, after, but what if you're hunting with the drone?
I'm confused.
Like second payload, we put a Glock on the side of that thing. And go chase down some freaking wild hogs with it. That'd go crazy.
The other most common question was, can I put a gun on that thing? No, you can't put a gun on it.
Oh, but you can.
Oh, but come on.
I do know that I know in Texas they're using these to help hunt hogs.
Right.
And I think depending on the state, you can utilize these for, pests.
Right. Nuisance.
Yeah, nuisance animals. Yeah.
I don't know what page it was on, so I can't give them credit, but I just watched the craziest one of them using these for a pig hunt somewhere in Texas. And
makes sense.
They were out in a big ag field.
Right.
The drone was propped up, so you had a full view of the 100 or so pigs in this field. And then they had a firing squad. 20 or 30 guys set up.
Oh, no.
It counted down, and then it was all hell broke loose.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I will say the comments were hysterical because I think they missed every pig.
Oh, no.
Oh, God.
Like 3 pigs, right? And they had 50 guys just unleashing hell.
Oh, that's terrible.
And the comments were just like, who the hell?
Oh, yeah. I've watched the guys with the minigun on the side and the laser and all that, and those guys suck at hitting their target.
That's crazy.
Their aim is terrible.
You got to think it's just the adrenaline. It's just like, oh, what's in my hand?
It's
forget everything I know. What is?
How do you miss?
I don't know, man.
But and the reason why we're again, I told you a little bit about it. Benny and I are kind of gearing up for Louisiana alligator season's coming up, and
that's awesome.
And we were talking to our landowner the owner of the property, who we get to hunt with, and Wes and Emily and the whole Planet Trot line down there. So, and they were talking about, hey, we got some pigs.
Oh, there you go.
They need to get off the property. So,
well, look into those rules and regulations.
Oh, yeah.
Get that drone down there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we could figure out. I think we could put a Glock on the bottom of it, fly that sucker right over top of the hogs, and just let them have it.
Anything other than a Glock. We will never. No.
Oh.
I'm good with that. Garbage. Garbage and Glock, they start with the same letter.
Hey, whatever.
Colt 1911. How do you go wrong with that?
Yeah, all right, Grandpa.
Hey, you didn't have a problem toting that thing around, so
No, that's pretty nice. So you were talking about some of the, payloads and sensors and stuff you have on that. So you get a call for, hey, I shot this deer, 24 hours ago, and you show up. What's step one? Do you just go up and, just kind of look around and try to find deer and kind of go in and look at them, or
make sure it's all cash? No, yeah. So the way that we operate, right, is obviously the calls come in, and then we'll head out right then and there. The nice thing is that we do have time on our side typically with thermals. I think it wasn't one of ours, but I think one of the deer recovery guys out in Ohio had like 38 hours after expiration, and they still had thermals.
Wow.
So thermals will last a good time in the right conditions. So, we'll get out there as quickly as we possibly can. And then we'll do a quick debrief with the hunter, right? We'll pull up the maps. So when we show up, right, we have the drone, we have the truck all kitted out. So we have a 30-inch monitor in the back of the truck. We get everything set up, and then we kind of go through the property with a live map with the hunter.
Sure.
And they let us know, hey, either this is where I shot it or this is where I had last blood.
Sure.
And then depending on, other little intricacies of the property is like, all right, he was heading this way. This is super thick cover. Let's start here.
Sure.
So, we're doing that data gathering, right, is the first step of like, all right, what's the next best step? And then after we do that, we'll take the drone off and we'll either go to where last blood was, where the shot was, and then we'll just grid search. And we have a range on that drone with clear line of sight of like 3 or 4 miles.
Oh, wow.
That's conservative. I should know this. I think it's like a 5-mile range on that thing with a clear line of sight. So we can search like an unimaginable amount of land, 10 times more than what you could do on foot or, with dogs or anything like that. 'Cause
sure.
You're dealing with property boundaries when you're on foot. And we will just grid search basically. We'll grid search about an 800-yard radius to start.
Kind of circling out.
Pretty much, because what we found was that if the deer is dead, it's usually dead within that 800-yard radius.
Gotcha.
So we'll start there, and then we'll start to kind of edge out from that radius, right? And then we'll start to kind of, again, we'll come back in, we'll regroup, we'll try to figure out, all right, are there funnels, are there areas where he would most likely just go if he's maybe been bumped a ways or something like that. Like we want to try to find the next best spot that he could possibly
Where's
be.
water,
Right. Yeah. Things like that. And then, we'll basically search, and we search, most searches, right? If the deer was dead, we're done in the first 15 minutes. But if we were there as kind of like that closure mission,
sure,
where we're most likely not going to find the deer, but we want to make sure that we search every conceivable area, those are like 2-hour missions.
So, what kind of flight times does that thing have?
So it has, so that's the battery charging case over there. And we show up on site with 4 sets of batteries. That gets us about 2 hours of search time.
Okay. So that's
each battery is about 30 minutes, give or take. If the conditions are right, we can get a little bit more, it's freezing cold, heavy wind or something.
Right.
Oh, sure.
So about 30 minutes per battery pack. And we usually limit to about 2 hours.
Yeah.
Just because within a 2-hour time span, we have searched every conceivable area.
Gotcha.
That deer is not anywhere in a realistic,
right, at least within 5 miles. So that's pretty much the way that we would do it. It's pretty straightforward and simple, honestly. There's not a whole lot to it, once we get there. Patience.
Well, yeah.
Something young Benny hasn't quite figured out yet, but he's working on it.
Okay. You guys kind of talked about it with the, kind of, is there a funnel? Is there, water? Kind of, I think things that a lot of guys have heard deer hunting, if they're going to go downhill, least path resistance or path of least resistance and towards water. And you find that to be pretty accurate? Like most of the time after they're shot, they're running downhill or towards water, or.
It's honestly, it's tough, man, because I don't think our data sample is big enough to give like a definitive answer to that.
That means you keep track of that. Though.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, I say.
Last season, every recovery, what the shot placement was, what the weapon was, all of that stuff.
Ooh, all right. I got another question.
I think it was like 50 or 60 that we did last year. So I don't really know.
I got you.
I will say
TBD for sure.
Yeah, TBD, and I, with data, right? It's garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I don't know if that deer ran downhill for any particular reason. I don't know if he went to water. So I don't know. I can't tell you for sure if we're ever going to get to that answer. I will say that we were surprised a number of times where
really,
one sticks out in particular where we were on a property and it was a relatively urban property, and he had last blood here. So we flew the drone to last blood, and he said he was heading that direction. Great. So we did our 800-yard radius, and we went out and as far as we could possibly get to where we were, losing reception with the drone. And we have to stay within visible line of sight of the drone legally. So we searched as far ahead as we possibly could, and take the drone back in, switch the batteries, pop back up. And I was going, we searched so far up that creek bottom, and it's neighborhoods, right? Because it was relatively urban. So chances are, maybe we could go a little bit further, but we have to relocate. So let's just search back 100 yards behind us. Let's just see, maybe he's the other way. We found that deer 60 yards.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, and that it was still alive. So we landed. The hunter went back in the next morning and found blood, and the deer wasn't there. So it wasn't a lethal hit. And he actually had pictures of that deer later on in the season.
All right.
Cool.
That's even better. That's even cooler.
But that deer, I don't know really how it did it, but I do. They're crazy. It traveled a quarter mile up this creek bottom, and then, I maybe it came back down the creek bottom, or it looped back through the properties, but it came right back. And that happened on a couple of missions where we would go out, we'd go to last blood, and we would search where we thought the deer was going, and it was kind of back to where the shot was,
right,
in like the opposite direction, which is really interesting. No idea why that happens, but it happened on more than one occasion, which was surprising. Wow. Yeah,
that's really weird.
Yep. Yeah, that was hard to explain, because it's like it went back to where.
I'd love to talk to a biologist right now.
Scene of the crime, right? Where
love to talk to a biologist.
It should have been spooked out of the area, but sure enough, that deer was 60 to 100 yards away from where we were taking off, which
wow.
Yeah. Doesn't make
And those
sense.
things aren't quiet.
Not when you're taking off.
Right. Once they're in flight, they're fine.
Get up, but once you're up 100 feet, you don't even hear that.
Right.
But yeah, no, I mean, it puts out a decent amount of sound. Yeah. Enough for us to get the cops called twice.
Oh yeah.
and have the drone shot at one time.
No way.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yep.
What happens? All right.
That was interesting.
See, that's why you need a gun on the second payload so you can return fire.
No, but
He's gonna get us canceled.
Whoa. No, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, he would. So, all right. So let me backtrack. What happens if you fly that over my property?
Okay.
Right? Private property.
Yeah. It's a great question.
And I shoot it.
You go to jail.
Oh.
It's a federal offense because you're shooting at an aircraft. It's a huge no-no.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right. That's if it's commercial though, right?
No. That's so and again, the laws are a little bit gray on this because there is no law in the book that states where your property ends in the air.
I got you.
So the rule that I go by is
unless you're in California and they buy view rights.
Yeah,
but that's a whole different
I think
story.
Like New York maybe also has air rights or something along those lines. I try to stay above 100 feet if we're over, other people's property.
Just harder to hit.
Yeah. So that's kind of the rule that I've made to myself is like, all right, if we're over other people's property, we stay above 100 feet and you're clear in the eyes of the law. Where you start to be able to actually take action is if the drone is harassing, right? Like if the drone right now is flying and looking in that window, you still can't shoot it.
Okay.
Right. So I don't want to say
Fair.
go out and blast the thing out of the sky, but there are things that law enforcement can do now. So remote ID was something that was just passed. So this is great for everyone who's listening who has a drone. They know where your drone is at all times. The FAA has a monitoring system. Remote ID is what it's called. And it is now mandated in all drones to operate some sort of remote ID.
Sure.
Think of it as like air traffic control.
Yeah, it's kind of like AIS on a boat.
Yep.
It's a ICAO code, but on a drone.
Yep. So
That's cool.
So now, if someone is harassing or looking in windows or being stupid with the drone, the authorities can take action against
Gotcha.
that. Yeah.
But I can't shoot it.
Can't shoot it. Don't shoot it. Don't recommend it.
Don't recommend. Highly not recommended.
No, and the guy that shot at my drone, we were out on, standard recovery mission. We were doing our thing. We were flying. I think we were at like 250 feet, and we were wrapping the mission up. Like we were kind of towards the end of it. Guy had called us, it'd been like a day or so after the hit. He had bumped it once. So, again, and I make it very clear when people call for those types of missions. I'm like, hey, happy to come out and do the search to give you closure.
Sure.
From previous experiences, though, the likelihood of us locating that deer are slim.
All right. Being an honest broker.
Yeah,
I like that.
I want to set the expectations of like, hey, just because we're coming out doesn't mean we're going to find your
Absolutely.
deer.
Yeah.
Definitely going to give you the best chance of finding the deer.
Sure.
And at the bare minimum, we're going to give you closure.
Sure.
Know that it's not in your searchable area. And so, we were wrapping up. We had searched a ton of area, and I was on my last flight out to kind of finish, to search one more area that we wanted to just double check. And, I have the drone kind of facing down, like at an oblique angle as I'm flying out. And I caught a thermal signature, and it was a person as we were flying out. And we were at 250 feet, and it was rural. So it was,
It's rural.
Not
West Virginia.
Yeah, no. And I was like, that's interesting. Because, he was kind of in the middle of the woods, but I didn't think anything of it. It's their property. Do what you want. So we wrapped up. I was flying back, and I had stopped, and I had kind of done like a 180 with the drone, or exactly what maneuver I did. But I caught that thermal signature again, and it was kind of one of those where it was like peeking out from a tree. Oh, that's a person. Because at first I was like, oh, maybe that's the deer. So I was about to pop the floodlight on and switch over to oh, that's just another doe or something along those lines. And when I saw them do kind of like the peek behind the tree, I was like, oh shit, that's a person. Like, I don't want to mess with that. I'm not trying to shine a light on
wrong species.
On people. So we, and right as I saw the peak, we heard the boom. I was like, and the landowner was like, oh, that guy just shot at you. Like, I was like, yeah, mission's over. We're coming in. And, I landed, and the mission was over anyways. So I was packing my stuff up. We left. I kind of didn't. I was like, stupid landowner. He thought the aliens were coming. So he, I don't know. And we were leaving, and the guy had called the cops. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, if the cops had come up, I would have said he shot at my drone.
Oh,
that guy would have been in a world of hurt.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because we weren't harassing. We weren't, we were above 100 feet.
Sure.
We were conducting,
and they can see all of that. I mean, they can see it on your mission.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We have, not to mention, we have the flight logs. All the video to show what we were doing.
Yeah.
Even if he'd been like, oh, the drone was 20 feet above my roof looking at my old lady. I was like, no.
Yeah, no.
300 feet up, quarter mile away from your house. So this guy had come out of his house, traveled what looked like all the way to the back of his property.
Just to take a shot at your drone.
At my drone, man.
Wow.
And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, Jesus, how stupid you have to be.
Smokes.
To who the hell knows what we could have been law enforcement searching for a missing person.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
And I think that guy would have been in jail.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Under the jail.
Yeah. So it's important to set that straight. That just don't shoot at drones.
Don't shoot at drones.
Don't shoot at drones.
You hear that, Benny? Don't shoot at drones.
That's insane.
That was a crazy. That was the craziest mission we had for sure.
I said, is that the craziest thing you've ever seen on? I mean, I'd imagine you probably run into some weird looking stuff on a thermal camera flying through Virginia at night.
Yeah,
I wish like, you ever seen Bigfoot or like?
I had some better paranormal. We were flying over a colonial era property. No, nothing like that. No, I mean We had the cops called, but the neighbors are actually very nice. They called thinking that it was like a missing person.
Oh, no kidding.
So they called the cops to be like, hey, there's a drone. We don't know if someone's missing. So then the cops came out, and it's as soon as the cops understand what we're doing, and I introduce myself, show the Part 107 license, they're like, oh yeah, okay.
Oh, cool. You're all good.
Right.
So no, we didn't have any. I thought on some of the missions when we were flying, in like the more urban parts of Loudoun and like parts of Fairfax that we can fly, I got a little nervous with like the amount of neighbors that are around, and I think I'm probably not going to do many missions in the more urban areas.
Yeah,
because it's just hard
too
to
easy.
Search.
Yeah, too easy to.
Yeah, and then you fly over one person's house, and then
that's
it just becomes a whole thing. So
yeah.
Man,
yeah,
that's tough.
Crazy. It was a wild season, man. We were busy. We were really busy.
That's good to hear, though.
Yeah, it was super.
So I watch your stuff on TikTok or on not TikTok, on Instagram.
Yeah,
and you got some pretty badass footage on Instagram.
Yeah, we've got some cool, cool videos. Yeah,
I'll sit there and watch it, and it's like, where is that?
Yeah,
and I was like, no, I don't need to know. Oh, look at there.
There's some big deer, man. Yeah. I mean, we do, for the content and stuff in the off season, I love just taking the drone out and flying some of the local parks and areas that we can, just because the caliber of deer that are in some of these local parks that you can't hunt or things like that. It's just, God, it's crazy, man.
Now people can hire you to come out though and do like a deer assessment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we did a number of those towards like the January, March is really like the best time of year to do that.
Right. For deer though.
For deer.
All right.
Yeah. And we did a number of those last season, which was awesome.
What about turkeys?
Yeah. We found those too. Yep. In fact, one of the properties that we did, the deliverable that we'll give to clients that hire us for a deer survey, and like a map of the property, which is an example of like what your map would look like on a property with a drone.
Sure.
We'll deliver basically the most up-to-date high-resolution map of your hunting property. And then we'll also give you all of the herd numbers, how many bucks, how many does, where on the property they were bedding, where on the property they were feeding.
That's a cool picture, by the way.
Isn't that crazy? Like where we saw turkeys, things like that. So just a ton of information that can be gathered from utilizing the drone at that time of year.
Think about that, though. I mean,
yeah, and like the coolest thing too is that you're seeing the animals in their natural habitat.
Sure,
they're not coming into a bait pile on a cell cam or something like that. Like, we were finding the bedding areas on the south-facing ridges, right? And like stuff was kind of connecting and making sense.
Of course, it does.
And the hunter, the landowner was using that to make the next property improvements.
Yeah,
where you decide, like, where are you gonna set tree stands?
Absolutely. How is this food plot? What do I need to put and how do I need, how am I planting this? Exactly. Absolutely, man. I think that's amazing.
Which that was really cool. And then the other service offering that we've discovered with the ag side is that we're going to be offering your fall food plots. So we'll be able to fly the drone into your little honey holes.
Right.
And we'll be able to broadcast clover, brassicas, whatever you want to throw down as your seat. So you don't have to truck your ATV back in there or in the areas that you cannot get into.
Right.
And you're hand seating. We'll fly in with a drone and spread.
Yeah, that's not fun.
No. So that's going to be a cool one. We haven't like done a ton of marketing behind that one, but as we start to get closer to that season, we're going to put together some videos for it. Yeah. So that'd be cool.
Benny.
That's pretty slick.
Possibilities are endless.
That's really slick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we focus a lot on deer. I'm an avid turkey hunter.
Yeah.
And I look at it from a different perspective, not to find the turkeys, right? Because if you see a turkey in the fall, you're probably not going to see that same turkey in the spring. There's a good chance that's that turkey's there for one reason only, right? But where I look at it is being able to tell, number one, what your clutch, what a hatch is, is huge. Mm-hmm. And then being able to to really kind of determine what predators are out there, what predators are taking out a lot of these turkeys and things like that. That would be huge. And I mean, talk about a game changer at that point.
Oh yeah, and they all show up on thermal.
Yeah,
yeah.
To from a biological survey, right? That'd be insane.
Yeah, we were talking with a lot of the parks managers and stuff.
Yeah,
because Fairfax County has a huge park hunting program,
right?
So using a drone in that January timeframe, once the season's over,
to
get an accurate herd count. And again, you're getting an accurate herd count that's not influenced by a bait pile.
Yeah,
which is how you get deer to come into a cell cam for a herd survey to figure out how many does and bucks you have.
These are by nature how much this property is holding.
Yeah. Which that's
insane.
It's pretty cool to see.
All right. One more question.
Yeah, man.
How is it over like ponds, like water?
The thermal won't penetrate water.
How far?
It won't.
Oh, it won't. Oh, I thought you said it will.
No, it won't penetrate anything.
Okay.
In fact, we had a couple of cool. I think one of them's on the Instagram page. A recovery of a doe in the water.
Okay.
But we were able to see her because part of her was floating.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
It just looked like two little small blips of heat.
Oh, wow.
And then when we switched over to RGB, which is just your regular camera, you can see it clear as day. Deer was floating.
Wow.
That was another first timer deer.
No way.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Water.
Yep. Headed to water. It was gut shot too. So
even more.
There you go. That puts another little debate because I've heard people arguing that they don't go to.
Oh, I disagree 100%.
That's the new narrative, is that people are saying that's not.
That's not the case.
I don't know.
I've seen
it.
I'll own up to it. I've gut shot a deer.
Yeah.
We've had water on the property, and hands down, that deer went straight to water.
That's been my experience.
Yeah.
With gut shot deer as well. But I don't know. Social media is crazy.
Hell, I think even with, Mike, you've been to our farm.
Yeah.
I think just about every deer we've killed on that farm, after it's shot, is running downhill. It's running, which, granted, that's where most of the water is. They're running towards the creek beds and stuff, but that's the only thing I've ever seen a deer do.
Yep.
Is downhill or towards water.
Yep.
Yeah. And normally on a trail.
Yep.
Not.
Yeah, path of least resistance, as fast as it can.
Yeah.
Bolton, if it makes it out of the field.
Right.
It's downhill.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
It is.
I'd love to. I cannot wait. The fact you keep track of that data is amazing.
Yeah.
To me, super geek, I am all about that data.
I say the data is cool as hell.
I would love to put that into a database and do some correlation searches on that to see what comes up.
Yeah.
Holy.
I think once we get through, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years of doing this, or like 5 years where we have like real data.
Absolutely.
That's what I think will be really interesting.
Right. Bigger test
period,
period, but again, I'd love to see 100% correct. I'd love to see a small test and get an idea of what you think it is.
Yeah.
It's okay. Well, this is 2 years worth of data.
Yep.
This is 4 years worth of data.
Yep.
This is 8 years worth of data. This was our initial thought process here. And this is our correlated events to say, hey, this is this and this is that.
Well, that's guys,
this is the outcome.
I hope we're still doing this.
Oh, I know you will,
so
man.
We'll have some really good data.
Oh yeah.
To be able to play with.
I say I'd really like to see. Obviously, I'm sure you guys get calls for bow season, gun season, muzzleloader season. I would really love to see a statistic between just the 3 different seasons, between how many deer are lost during bow season, rifle season, muzzleloader season, and then even within those, like within rifle season, if there's a common cartridge that stands out, or 'cause I have a feeling you'd probably find a couple.
Well, there's 2 things. The first being there are a shitload of deer shot during the rut.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's where our the start of the season from like October 5th, I think was start last year, until like the second or like the last weekend in October. It was like slow. Like we were getting calls in, but it wasn't like I thought the phone was gonna be ringing off the hook from the day the season opened.
Yeah.
And then, man, careful what you wish for, because as soon as that second to last weekend in October hit, it was like
Yep.
Whoa.
I know people who will only hunt the rut.
Oh my God. Yeah, we were just, it was nonstop.
Yeah.
It was every day, multiple calls a day. So yeah, a lot of deer shot in that time frame. And then I'm hoping this data too, because we're taking down, all right, was it archery? Was it an expandable? Was it
I say, yeah, fixed blade versus
yeah.
expanding, and
I
yeah,
think that's awesome.
Get in on that, but we're gonna need a lot more data.
Well, we'll try our best to help out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, all right. So here's my next question: is would you be open to the idea of taking that data from hunters?
Mm-hmm.
Because I would suspect, obviously, I think somebody's probably trying to track that. I think DWRs would want, or is probably trying to track that. I mean, if you check in a deer, there's a little bit to that. But I would absolutely love to be able to say, hey, look, we'll find a way to make sure, hey, incentivize you to report this data, to a private sector, not the game warden, not DWR, as a private sector, anonymously or publicly, however you want to do it. I think that would be amazing to pull that data. But you've got more data analytics there than you could ever hope to imagine. That's so cool.
Pulling a ton of information just from shot placement, weapon used, broadhead used, time of day, like all sorts of different stuff that I think is going to come in super useful in the future.
I think so.
Find some really interesting things.
Yeah, it's crazy
for sure.
Is that we did find in our first season, like we were going over the place,
right?
We were driving 3 hours away. Like I think the furthest one we drove was like almost to Virginia Beach.
Holy smokes!
Oh
wow, that's a haul.
Yeah, and it was, and it's like, all right, that's 3 hours there, it's 3 hours back. We can only do one recovery mission for that,
right?
So this season we're gonna do way more targeted marketing outreach, getting the name out there, and like really try to stay within that like 40-mile radius of Leesburg, which gets us into a good portion of Maryland. That's a lot of area to cover, just because we can be so much more efficient with our time. If we're not traveling for one job all the way down to Virginia Beach and back.
Right.
And, it's going to be probably double, if not triple, the amount of calls that we're going to get this year.
Gotcha.
Just based off of how many people we spoke with last season, how many people were blown away with it, and then what we're doing this season from like a marketing, like what actually worked last season.
We're
doubling down on.
Of course.
Right.
Right.
Another pilot that I've hired on. We got another drone. So now we have 2 people doing this full time. So it's going to be big.
It's already. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff.
So, but for the right amount of money, you'll travel just about anywhere, right?
We do charge $1 per mile. So,
all right.
If they're willing, we have the time, we'll get there.
All right. Yep. Nobody's going to kind of get turned away.
No, we'll figure it out.
There you go. The right amount of money will get you on the scene.
Unless we can't operate in that state.
Right. I get that. West Virginia and PA.
Which, did you guys hear about the story in PA?
Mm-mm.
So
I'm always down for a good story.
Yeah. This one will blow you away. I think last season was the first year that this kind of really blew up as like a service offering and a way for people to have a side hustle during the hunting season.
For sure.
And make money with it. So there were operators popping up left and right. States didn't know how to regulate it. They didn't know what to do. Some of them were much stricter than others, Pennsylvania being one of them. But Pennsylvania did a piss poor job at explaining the gray areas, explaining what was legal, what was not legal. And the way that I looked at it, it was some parts of it were similar to how Virginia is written, where it was like, okay, this seems like as long as I'm operating the way that they've laid it out, I should be good. But apparently some of the DNR officers did not feel that way.
Oh, no.
And they felt that it was very much illegal.
Boy. Oh, no.
Right? But there were a number of operators in Pennsylvania that were of the mindset that, well, I'm looking at the law and I'm interpreting this way. So I'm going to operate because I think that this is illegal. And, DNR is not, they're not lawyers. They
They're just going to write you the ticket and let the court figure it out.
And they're interpreting it one way. So a couple of DNR officers got the idea to perform a sting operation on a drone deer recovery operator.
Really?
So they called this guy and they said, hey, we shot a deer. We can't find it. Can you come and help us look for it? The guy said, yeah. He gave them a waiver. He did everything
right
by the book.
Right.
And in my mind, like the way that it should have been, the way that I would have done it.
Sure.
Right? Got there, took the drone up, started to search. As soon as they found living deer on the drone, DNR swooped in. So the call was fake. The people that were there were fake, right? There was no deer that was recovered.
Oh my God.
They showed up. They seized the drone.
Oh no.
And then I can't remember what the outcome was, but I don't know where it stands right now, but I think he was putting up a fight.
As well as he should.
How is this not entrapment? How is this not?
I said that's got to be entrapment. That's insane.
What is this?
1,000%.
We are trying to help hunters locate
a deer.
Yeah. Harvested game. Like you're going to put resources towards someone who has put the time to form a business around this and is going to risk that business being taken away by doing something illegal. Like, come on, they have to have better
That's terrible. I mean, I know a lot of illegal hunters up in Pennsylvania.
Give me a break. So that turned the drone deer recovery world upside down for a hot second last season. But we turned away, 25 calls.
No way.
From Pennsylvania.
Just
and we did it from the get-go because, from the very beginning, I had lawyers involved to make sure that we were operating above board. And rightfully so. And the way that they were reading the language, they were like, it just doesn't.
Something's not right.
I just wouldn't risk it.
Doesn't pass the sniff check.
Yeah. And they did the same thing for West Virginia because West Virginia was written very similarly.
Right.
But it was just didn't seem right.
Do you think West Virginia will change it, or do you think PA will amend their laws?
I hope so.
Right.
I do. I know.
You just haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet. I know I think it's Indiana. Don't quote me on that. But Indiana originally was, it was illegal.
Is that Indiana or Iowa?
I can't remember. I think
might have been Indiana.
It's one of those. I think it's still illegal in Iowa.
Yeah.
But Indiana changed it. So
really?
they passed it.
Okay. All right.
They made it legal now. And all the DNR officers that I've spoken with are on board. And there's a number of deer recovery companies operating in the state of Virginia.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, it's a good service. Like we're
agree.
trying to do
right.
Right. Exactly.
I get that.
Yeah. So that was pretty crazy. That blew me away that they set up a sting operation for that.
See, Benny?
That's crazy.
What would happen if you had a Glock on there?
I don't know.
Come on, Benny.
I don't know.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that was crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe that.
I'm going to go down that rabbit hole when I get home, too.
Yeah. I gotta look back into it because now it's been out of my mind.
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't thought about it. I got to see what the outcome was on that.
Oh, yeah. I bet you it's still tied up in court.
I'm sure it is.
But, I look at it, how you interpret the law. One of the things I've never really kind of got. Look, this is how I understood it to be. I'm not doing anything illegal. And this is how the cop decided to. And look, I get it. Law enforcement, I think, have one of the toughest jobs on the planet. And DNR officers are, highest morbidity rate of all law enforcement.
Yeah.
My hat's off to them.
Absolutely.
Green jeans are astronomically difficult job. I get it. But really?
Yeah.
You're going to hassle a drone operator?
Yeah.
You didn't harvest anything. Come on, man.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
That one didn't sit right.
That one doesn't sit right with me for sure.
It seemed like they were trying too hard to.
Oh yeah. I wonder if they had something, if there's another reason,
Yeah. I don't know. Again,
be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it would.
I don't know. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So where are we at, Benny?
Just a little over.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
So, obviously we sat here for an hour. We got to talk.
Yeah.
And, first of all, thanks for coming on. Thanks for letting us come out. Well, thanks for letting me come out. Benny obviously couldn't, but dude, you have a standing invitation anytime you'd like. You know, we love to get you on. We just talked about, fishing or talked about hunting recovery, and you can't see it on the camera. I screwed up. So it's my fault, but there's a buck right over here that's on this wall. And I swear I said it, my guess is a probably 215.
I'll take it.
Yeah. That's a monster buck sitting over there. It was harvested locally.
Yeah. Fairfax County. Yep.
And you're a big fisherman.
Oh yeah.
So we got to have you back on here shortly, and we'll talk a little bit more about hunting and fishing in this area, because a lot of people ask about that. It's kind of, I tell everybody, it's why we started this podcast. People want to know how to hunt and fish, and a lot of them are here locally, Northern Virginia, Leesburg, Fairfax County, things like that. And, we have we have some good local fishermen that come on and kind of talk about how do you fish this area, where's some spots, or how do you do this. And that's always been a good one, but I think I'd love to continue to have this conversation, considering the rest of the freaking, animals that are sitting up here. I think that'd be we could talk a couple more hours about that. Well, so
I'm born and raised in this area, so there's lots of opportunities for hunting and fishing in this area.
There ain't a lot of y'all up here. My wife is one of them, but ain't a lot of true locals up here. So I think that's pretty cool. Benny, what other questions you got? We cover everything.
I think I covered everything I had questions on.
I talked a lot. I kind of hogged the mic tonight, didn't I? Yeah.
No, I'm appreciative to have you guys local as well. I think what you guys are doing is fantastic, and
it's fun.
I'm happy that we could. Yeah, it is. This is like I was telling Mike, like I didn't know how I'd feel about doing podcasts. Starting the business, trying to get the word out, but it's just fun to.
It is
talk about things you're interested in.
Absolutely,
I love hunting and fishing. So anytime.
Yeah, got a standing invitation. So
appreciate that.
And how do people get a hold of you?
So contact information's on our website.
Yep.
Instagram's another great way. Skyhound Deer Recovery.
Right.
For any of your deer recovery service needs. Skyhound Ag is the new.
We didn't even get much into that. I feel terrible.
We'll save that for another podcast.
I like that.
That's a whole another thing that we could talk for hours on. But yeah, telephone number is on the website.
Gotcha.
And then social, Instagram.
What's your website?
Sky-hound.com.
Sky-hound.com.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Type in, if you're local to the area, deer recovery, Leesburg, deer recovery.
You'll find it. Should be the number one search, right?
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
I like that. I like that a lot. All right, Benny, where are we at, my friend?
We're about an hour and 12, man. So I've got no more questions. Tyler, thanks again for being here, brother. Glad to have you back. And like Mikey said, you're welcome anytime. Just let us know. And definitely, if you have anything you want to share or want to talk about, just let us know and we'll get you in.
No, man, I'm good to go. I think, for all the hunters out there, it's like I said, the most important thing is if you don't find that deer in 100 yards or less, just call out the Skyhounds, man, because we will help you.
Yeah, stop. Just stop.
Just stop. Don't bump the deer. That's the biggest learning moment that we had of the season was if that deer is bumped more than you. Sometimes you get lucky. You can bump them once, pop up, bed down within 50, 60 yards. If you bump that deer a second time, it's gone.
Gotcha.
It is out of there. It's out of the zip code. Don't know where to go after that second bump. So,
there's a special place for deer that get bumped twice.
When in doubt, call us out.
Right.
That's it.
I like
That's
that.
All I'll leave it with.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Love it. Right on. You got anything, Mike?
I'm good, sir. Appreciate getting to spend some time with you today.
Right on, fellas. Well, y'all, thanks for watching. And Tyler, thanks again. And we'll see y'all next week.
Bye, everybody.
You've been listening to The Hunting Quest. No matter how crazy, high-tech, or lazy the rest of the country gets, we will always be hunting and fishing. If that's you, you've found your new family. Thanks for listening to the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. And we'll be back soon. Reach out to us by email at info@thehuntingquest.com. And check us out on Instagram and YouTube at The Hunting Quest. See you next time.